afternoon, you're watching another episode of the Golden Bee Revolution. I am your host, Alaji Chernosware. With me today, I have three young dynamic leaders who are here to tell us what they've been doing with regard to the parliamentary elections, and also we will just take a flashback to the presidential elections. Without much ado, I will start the introduction of my guests from the right-hand side, where I have Miss Anita. I would have called her Mrs., but then I got the rectifications before getting her in the studio. Welcome to the Golden Bee Revolution.
Thank you. It is indeed a pleasure to be here this afternoon. I am Anita Beatrice Vivian Mahoney from Gambia Participates. I am the programs manager. Thank you for having me.
It's so beautiful after going through your records, being known that you've been so much active in the CSO's program where you created your own project, which is called the Golden Gift. This is so amazing knowing that you've been doing so much a great thing. I would have suggested this must have attracted some other institutions like the Center for Human Rights and also the Gambia Participate entrusting you to run such a project.
Yeah.
Kudos to you, congratulations, and I hope the viewers will enjoy your participation in this show.
Thank you very much.
Then to my left, I have Miss Mariama Danso, whose name is more like a household in the Gambia. Anywhere you go, Mariama is not a new name to us. Mariama is not a new name to anyone else there, especially those that would dare mess with the gender activists. Mariama, thank you so much for the beautiful service you've been doing. Our girls are safe in your hands. The gender inequality treatment has dropped down. This is not your first time coming to the Golden Bee Revolution. You've been coming to the Golden Bee Revolution, where we host you on the topic gender-based violence, where you did amazingly well with the project. You did amazingly well. Your messages were very, very clear. I hope to see that energy being here, because I'm seeing the gentleman next to you there. That was a great synergy formed before the show starts, but then I'm sure we will have a very beautiful show from this.
Thank you very much, Alaji. It's an honor to be here, and then hello to all the people that are listening to us here. My name is Mariama. As he rightly say, I work with the Center for Policy, Research and Strategic Studies, CEPRAS, as a Programs and Communications Officer, and then I look forward to having a fruitful discussion with these great minds here. Certainly.
I didn't even begin my questions, but I'm loving the flow of the day. There come the rare gender in here. I'll call myself non-gender, not representing either. And thank you for having you to the show, Mr. Mukhtar. It's been amazing following your participations with regard to political debate, where you've set a great record from your institutions that this was the first of its kind in the history of the Gambia, where we've seen people coming out in large number, talking about their manifesto, talking about what they have for the people. This is so much a blessing to the country, having young people with such a mindset. Then you didn't even limit it here. When you were in your studies in Morocco, you earned yourself an award where you are considered as the most influential Gambian in Morocco. This is just wow. Welcome to the Golden Bee Revolution.
Thank you so much, Alaji. My name is Mukhtar Diallo, or Momodu Mukhtar Diallo for, I hope it fits here. But thank you so much for having us, and then thank you so much for also what you're doing at the Golden Bee Revolution, giving young people the platform to say what they're doing, but also try to let the public know, as well as inspire attitudinal change towards certain aspect of society, especially taking young people, putting them on the lead, like the topic of today.
Absolutely. Thank you. That topic has been mentioned by him, and so you will be reading it from the scrolls that will be scrolling down there. Without much further, I will just start with you with regard to the Gambia Participates work. It is not a new thing to us. Gambia Participate has been doing amazingly well when it comes to public scrutiny, into like putting the government into account, and also educating the public in terms of good governance. With this, there is something beautiful, something unique, and something that was most like the most talked about thing, which is called the Marble, which was born in the 2021 elections, if I get this right. Yeah. And it was one of the most followed up in the Gambia. This is a big bravo. Can you inspire us a little about the Marble?
Yeah, the Marble app, I think for the first time in the Gambia, and this was something that we would even expect the IEC to take up, because, it is usually in the Gambia that you will have elections being, reported on TV, and you will not even know the accumulated number of each candidate. So this time around, Marble came in just not for the purpose of giving out election results, but also aiding people with any information pertaining to elections. And we even went as far and are even going as far as trying to make it easy for people to locate their polling stations in the future. So you see that Mabo will really be sophisticated in the coming year, maybe during the local government elections. So we were even surprised ourselves because the anticipated number of people that downloaded the app really surpassed us. We were expecting 10,000. We went all over to 30,000. Wow. Yes, so at a time during the presidential election, we had issues because it nearly crashed, or it crashed, and everyone was on Gambia Participates. We are relying on Mabo. We could have even given out real-time election results, but we had an MOU with the IEC, who were constitutionally mandated to give election results, and we understood this, thereby just giving certified election results after IEC did it.
Wow.
So, yeah.
I must say kudos to you, because then I was not in town. I was in a place where most people were depending on certain media, where people will be like, we have to go with the hotel level. Look, I think we have to give a break to these people, because there is a special body that is responsible for this. But there is this saying, with whatever beautiful job you're doing, there must be a critics out in there. This would attract me to get a little bit step back to discuss a little about the presidential election, though it is gone, but still it will be used for us to analyze a little bit about the current or of recent election that happened. What would be your suggestions, or what would be your reactions to people that would claim that 2021 presidential election wasn't fair, where the Gambia Participate trained number of people to observe the elections? You were actively reporting, working in line with other CSOs, other representatives, foreign representatives that came to observe the elections. What is your reaction to that statement? Yeah,
I mean, I believe that people are actually entitled to their opinions, yes. And the only unfortunate thing for us as an observer group this time around was we could not observe the registration period. But apart from that, we believe that elections is just not an event, but a whole process. That is why we deemed it necessary to have both the pre-election environment, observed, and also on election day. And as per our observation, because we just didn't deploy people out there, we make sure that they were thoroughly trained by an expert from Nigeria. Wow. So, and also we made sure that they were, even our short-term observers, those are the polling unit observers. So we had the long-term observers who did the pre-election observation, and we had it on elections day. And the way that we did it, with the whole methodology, we made sure that we delved into certain areas that might, question the credibility of the elections. We made sure that during the pre-election environment, we did look at the election environment, that is the general environment. We did look at, how prepared IEC was, voter education, as well as, the use of state resources, that is the use and non-use of state resources, as well as critical incidents, that might question the credibility of the elections. And on election day, we did the observation of the setup, that is the opening. We did during the voting, we did observation during the voting process, closing and counting of all the votes. Okay. So from our observation, there were critical incidents, right? Yep. But not to the extent that it will affect the credibility of the results. We have something that we call major critical incidents and minor critical. Yeah. When you have thousands of people coming in to vote and they are restricted, that is one major, critical incident. Yeah. But when you have one person's name not seen on the list or something like that, these are minor critical incidents, but, they are not so grievous that it will affect the credibility of the elections. And as to what we really observed, and I believe that other, domestic observers and international observers observed too, that this election was beyond any reasonable doubt, that it was free, fair, and credible from our end. Yes. That's beautiful. I wouldn't have any question with regard to the credibility of the elections, having known that the great things that you've been recorded as an individual, then to your institution, where amazing things came from, our institutions, I would call it. That was a kudos. Gambia Participate have been doing so many things with regard to their accountability, and then it's been seen
outright. Having good relationship with the American embassy, having good relationship with other institutions that are really fighting for democracy, putting government into account, and also seeing free and fair, promoting peace in a state. So I wouldn't have any doubt with that statement. I hope anyone else watching would think the same way. Coming to you, Ms. Mariama, like I said to her, in any work that you do or any cause that you start, there must be criticisms. If you took at, even from a religious line, the Muslim line, they are faced with critics. You come to the Christian line, to the same thing. It wouldn't be surprised seeing CSOs or institutions being criticized. That being the case, we've seen your research council have embarked on a survey prior to the presidential elections, where you gave a percentage in favor to the incumbent, that he is going to win with this particular percentage in 40s. This have attracted so many attentions from people, or maybe critics from the internet world, where people will be like, no, there is no popular case with regard to the incumbent, there is no this, there's no that. But then you still went ahead with your research on this. I would like you to put this in this format. How did you start the survey? And what came out to be the cause that people will criticize you that this was not authentic? Then came Fatum Network, a platform where thousands of Gambians harbored in, gave a reminder call to people in December, 21st December, where they made a published that the CEPRAS project or survey came to reality. How does it feel?
Thank you very much, Alaji. I think at some point as academics, it is important that our impact be felt in a country. And then I think as a country that has a growing democracy, it takes collective efforts to consolidate it. It takes Gambia Participate to give us a marble, for instance. Yep. It took a commission of political debates to organize debates for us, for also to be able to scrutinize our candidates. Yep. But it also took CEPRAS, the boldness, to also challenge the status quo by ensuring that we conduct what we call an opinion poll survey. Yep. Now, opinion polls, when you look at it in other countries, these are not things that are new. They are not like scriptures where you say they represent facts at some point. Yeah. They are bound to be tested, and I think it's high time Gambians start respecting opinion polls to make sure it is one of the driving forces to meaningful development, because countries all around the world rely on data, and then you cannot get data if you sit at your comfort zone and assume that things would work that way. Yep. It is important we start challenging the situation and also clearing the system, as we put it. So from our end, when we actually disseminated the first phase of the finding that elections was going to be at a certain way, we received criticism, highly criticized for it. But then we expected it. And also, research, as people understand, is bound to have limitations. As I said, it is done by people, and we know human beings are not perfect. So you expect that whatever it is that human beings put their hands on might have limitations. Moving on to the second phase, where we also I think before we conducted one prior to the nomination. This was because we did not have the confirmed list of candidates that would be vying for the position for presidency. Moving on, when the IEC confirmed the list, we still went back to the very people that would be voting again to ask them, who do you think you are likely going to align yourself with in terms of your vote choice? And then when they made the decision, we analyzed it at our level as independent and impartial consultants or researchers, came up with the findings, and then we published it as it was expected of us. And again, we were highly criticized for it. And then what we did was the predictions was such that we saw the NPP, that is the incumbent, President Adama Barrow, leading in all the regions except for West Coast, where there was a slight margin between them and that of the UDP. And I think the December presidential the 4th December elections actually vindicated what CEPRAS was saying. We thought that was going to be an eye-opener for a lot of people. And also, most people used to think that opinion polls are like witch hunts or trying to put down a certain group of individuals against the others. It's not anything like that. We want the politicians or the political parties to see it more to be like a SWOT, for them to take it as authentic, tested, scientifically proven data to assess their strength in terms of the information we provide. Which regions or which constituencies are their perceived threats? What are their opportunities in terms of our findings? And how can they tap on that to ensure that they give themselves a very balanced chance in terms of the elections? moving forward to the parliamentarian elections as well, we did a prediction again, and then we saw that the NPP was leading in terms of the number of votes, seats that won, and then followed by the UDP. We also predicted that we could not see GDC surviving the elections, and then interestingly, we saw that the youth president for the GDC, MC Cham, reacted to it, plus other prominent political parties. We do not see CA making it, and I think our results also put that out. And come on the 9th of April, or towards the 10th, we saw that the Sepras poll was again vindicated. But aside from that, Alaji, we realized that aside from the likely candidates to win, we also looked at something that is very important, and we feel the populace or the public is not really paying attention to that. The poll also made an assessment of the president or this current government's first 3 months in office on the different sectors. Maybe we will come to that as we forge onto the discussion. So we would want people to also make reference to those things. Let us understand how far we've gone. And then some people that criticize that we sat at our corners and then randomly call people, we want them to understand that those individuals we spoke to are electorates, and these are individuals that also contribute to decision making of every state. So it's high time we really see how we can ensure that whenever we want to maybe inform on policies or anything, we rely on data to ensure that we get the best out of it as possible.
I could assume or I could feel the emotions, how it would have been like with the mindset of the Gambian. I've been in the Gambia here for a while, though sometimes I would have been out with it, which is pointless here. But most of the time, how we react to forecasting is always a dilemma here. Right. Like, example, let's take an instant from the weather forecast.
Right.
The weather forecast will give a particular suggestion that we are expecting this, and someone will be there.
Exactly.
When that event happened, they will be like, oh, and then they've said it earlier. So I think it's high time, like you said, it should be a wake-up call to every Gambian, knowing that sometimes we could have data, because these are opinions, these are things that we are predicting. You are not saying it will happen. Not even an expert would say this would happen in the future.
Right.
We would say we are expecting this to happen. So it is high time we really consider opinion polls, because this opinion poll was one of the things that guide me. In fact, even I nearly had someone who's going to smash my face when I did say, I think this data that I'm seeing should be a wake-up call, because I did a program with Majak with his election report. After having listened to Hasum Sise of Center for Arts and Culture, he did give a reference of the Balagaba Jahumba political party compared to the then Sadala Karaba Jawara, may all their soul rest in peace, comparing them on using the religious line, and people trying to use a tribe or trying to use a methodology that is trying to interpret our current political avenue. So I was able to conclude that I think the step would, even if it will fail, it will be less than 2% or 3%. And luckily enough, it came out to be a surprising nearly 90% accurate.
Yes, Elijah, just to quickly add on to that, because in every research you expect margin of error. Accuracy, 100% accuracy is not anything that you would comfortably put out. Yep. And then our team is so meticulous in terms of even the way they crafted the language to ensure that we had to analyze the data on the 3 different scenarios. Oh. What would happen if we are in a certain situation? So, and also I think it's about how the message has been coined out. Yeah. Because if we are telling you under the 3 different situations we looked at, we saw the NPP highly likely winning, then the press took it and maybe crafted it in a way that is beneficial to them.
That is marketing now.
Exactly. That is another challenge that we had. So in order to avoid that, at our level, after when we conduct every poll, we also do capacity building for the media houses. We ensure that they report based on what is expected in terms of the dissemination.
Not just only to make
exactly,
it
not to just, we don't want a one-off reporting where you just take a chunk out of the very important details and then just put it out because you're trying to look for that which will attract readership. But then you know that is how they can also market themselves. So we don't really have a control over
it would be an error.
That.
It will be an error seeing that you're trying to pick a certain coin from the lot just to market your project. The media is one of the most dangerous tools we've been ignoring. People have been campaigning about nuclear weapons, the anti-decolonization and the like. But then if media is not controlled, we cannot. Because today we're crying for the Tutsi and Hutsi's war in Rwanda. It was the media that fueled everything. So I would rather see us, the journalists, or us, the people that would invite people to a talk show, not to put words into their mouth that will create an uncertainty or maybe a tension where no one could control in the future. So without keeping you being cold, I think I'll let you nearly fall asleep, I will call that. The CPD, that is the Commission on Political Debate, is one of the kind that we're seeing most developed countries adopting to or already adopted, using it as a yardstick to measure the candidate that is going to take stage. Unfortunately, in the Gambia here, when you're politicking, you could say anything. That is one thing. You could use this line, attract voters to vote you in. We could use so many languages, we could use so many lines, we could use so many things to persuade the electorates to give us a vote. But instead, relying on the stage where you would speak out your manifesto, not using your tribal line, not using your sweet tongue, not using your authority, or not using any other thing that will bring you in. Some would even question that this faith cannot come in, that faith cannot come in. Using this, are you surprised that the CPD project that is trying to bring out political parties to debate on things that they want to serve for us, but then the incumbent was not present?
Well,
was he not written? Were information communicated to him very late? What was their reactions when he communicated to them?
I want to say no. I will say no. But let me just put this across first. That way we give context to the people. A lot of the times, there was a time that somebody told me, idea with this idea of debate, and then I just want to make it clear to the public that the CPD started political debates in 2016. Then Yaya Jammeh was around.
Wow.
The first debate we held was at Tango, and then the coalition was represented by Halifa Sallah, and GDC were equally represented, and then the incumbent President Jammeh declined to attend the event, and it was held at Tango. We organized it with the IVLP, now called the USEPAN, Exchange Program Alumni Network, the Gambia. And we held it at Tango, and that was our first debate we did. We went on to organize the mayoral debate. We went on to organize the National Assembly debates then, and then we came to the the presidential debate. Fortunately, that was one of our, I will not say it's our most successful event based on content-wise, but the presidential debate also was one of the most successful one when it comes to public reaction. And to answer to your question, we wrote to all of them. On top of writing to all of them, we actually engaged each political party way before. We had a political party policy dialogue where we engaged, it was a youth-led initiative where we engaged these politicians because they have the inter-party committee that we always engage with. And then, we discussed issues about debate, dialogue in general, why it is important in politics. And then, we equally, after that, we wrote to all of these political parties. We reminded all of them that, you know what, we are asking you to come and debate, and we want you to debate on these social topics. Because the beauty or the difference between our debate to what we are seeing right now is that when we organize our debates, we take so much time in making sure that we get it right, but also we make sure that we engage them from the onset on what to do and how not to be there. So you will see that on top of writing to them, we equally go with code of conduct to tell them that the idea of our debate is to ensure that we move from the Gambian way of politicking. Everybody knows in the Gambia, our politics is mostly focused on few things. Personality, we're attacking people that, only, or things like that, things that have no use to us, right? Or we are focusing on tribe, using tribe to divide us, or using language, and insults and all of that stuff. We were like, no, that is not what develops the Gambia. And as a CSO, because we realize there are many CSOs in the country, all of us are doing things differently to promote democracy. They're doing the marble, but also, helping hold government accountable when it comes to financing. Sepras is doing the research, which any serious political party will know the importance of data collection and how they can use that to manipulate results for themselves. And then we desire debate is one area where we can engage the public, right? So all of these political parties have been written to. I want to answer to that. And then we ask them to come and discuss issues based on that develop people.
I did like to cut you short to rectify my question that I mentioned earlier, the incumbent, where we have so many big guns that really either absconded the debate or were not contacted. I can tell you, in fact, through Ibrahim, we released a statement that, it's not official from the CPD anyway, that all political parties were written to.
Everybody was written to. We do phone calls. I was doing phone, even for the National Assembly debate, I was doing a lot of phone calls trying to engage these politicians to come. Gambians generally, or politicians in general, you know, it's a new culture. We don't blame them. It's something we are trying to initiate. Initiation is difficult. You get all of these people saying no. Alhamdulillah, now that, you know, from National Assembly debates, we are seeing people asking for, National Assembly elections, sorry, we are seeing people demanding that their politicians debate, you know, and this is something we yearn for, and we, you know, we really hope that we will get the debate culture in the Gambia, you know, because one thing we expected politicians to understand is when you call people to come and debate on national TV, it's a huge opportunity for them. One of them is that when you're coming over there, you're not only getting your party members who will come and watch that debate. Because when you go to your manifesto, it's only mostly 90% of the people who come there, people who are already convinced that they will vote for you, come rain, come sunshine, right? But then on debate, you have the fans of the NPP, you have the fans of the UDP, you have the fans of the GDC, all of them watching, you know, with all of the other political parties, DOI and others,
they
right?
would balance it out.
So you have a whole country watching you. That is an avenue for you to sell your policy to them. You may attract people from the other side and let them know that, yeah, I'm better than this guy. I'm more prominent in these areas. I will develop your areas. I will represent you. That was an opportunity. Certainly. But also, knowing that how polarized our country is, how divided we've become, that is an opportunity to unite the country. Because if I, as a fan of a political party, is arguing every day on social media and my this, my that, if I see the leader of this social party on stage, you know, speaking civilly, and then they are also very respectful, they are hugging at the end of the debate, that will send a signal that it's Gambia first.
Sure.
It's not about the personality, it's not about this person or that person, it's about what we put on the agenda. And you know, there are setbacks, but honestly, to answer to your question, we've written to all of them.
Okay. Yeah. That's very beautiful. Like, before we go on a short break, I would just like to give a recap of what we've been discussing. There's the Mabul, how it came about. With your view, you believe the election was conducted free and fair. That has a kickback on the parliamentary elections where no noise were coming. Certainly, I would have believed there are some movement who were, or maybe I would just say it came in a way that the people that were expecting high, or maybe having high expectations in the presidential elections, then try to cover themselves, like the Mandinkas would say, Nyoborilla Makalo Adakentenda, Amakabu Adakentenda. And now that the result is in favor, then we try to press the whole situations. From your view too, with regard to the research you've conducted, so many things are said, but then the problem there is to orient the general public with regard to knowing that giving a data for future references is so important that we cannot just ignore it. It wouldn't be 100% accurate, but there will be some margins of errors, but then these are accepted because we are human. No one is a prophet that would even predict. Most of the prophets would even give a predictions, not giving a concrete result of what will happen next.
Right.
So coming to your area too, with regard to the presidential debate, that would attract some other people. Why were they not in there? Why did they not honor it, or whatsoever it is, or even standing your institution for being like a piracy, or maybe defaulting a copyright to another institution's idea. You've made it very, very clear. And from my take on this, I think it's high time us, the Gambians, we have to really consider that whatever we are doing, let us not allow to be dribbled by influential people to follow ideas or concepts that wouldn't matter the Gambia. The Gambia is first. The Gambia will make it if we join together. Nothing will lose. This is one of the most beautiful panels I have had to discuss on a certain thing, where we have a team that is talking about accountability, a team that is informing us if we don't account what could be the effect, a team that is telling us that after having them together, listen to them what they will give you. So to learn more about this project, to learn more about this show, to learn more about these discussions, generally shortly after this short break we're going, then when we come back, we will give you a good taste that will follow next. welcome back. I hope you enjoyed that short break we went through. If I wished, I could have continued, but then I cannot just punish my guest here, who would have been complaining my throat had dried. I have been speaking, I have to take a break. And like, thank God that this is not a place where we interrogate. This is not a place where we put shame on people's face. This is a place where we empower young people, or we empower people to showcase their talent. And this is the stage, this is the place, nowhere else but the Golden Bee Revolution. I sound like a PR for the Golden Bee Revolution right now. So beautifully and happily that we've discussed issues that were pertaining to the elections, specifically the presidential election. Then we had a little touch on the parliamentary elections. I want to question this, that looking at the setup, most of the politicians that were vying for these positions, when they were invited to the debate stage, some of them were talking about manifestos. That is not even part of their TOR. Are you surprised to see that the National Assembly that we have would be as competent as your expectations?
Well, you know, usually you can have your expectations cut off easily. I have seen, you know, politicians or people in general, I mean, we see it every day. Politicians there at the National Assembly are just human beings like us, right? So you can usually have someone coming up to you, you know, very, you know, looking so good and with every beautiful idea out there. And, you know, you vote them into positions and you see a completely different human being. So, you know, it's just that I can't even say that I have hope. I'll just be a little bit optimistic that things might be better than the last time. But you realize that, all right, when they're just in the National Assembly, these parliamentarians, you know, at first they are all good. You know, you reach out to them, they are ready to talk to you, ready to communicate. But give them maybe 5-6 months, they completely change.
Would there be an influence of the power or the influence of the brown envelope, or the influence
if I tell you I know the exact reason why, I'll be lying. You know, we have had so many engagements with these parliamentarians, so it's easy that sometimes we can even predict their next moves, right? Because I remembered we had this you know your budget engagement with I won't mention the name, so it was somewhere in NBR. So the guy told us that he was going to come. So we went over, you know, mobilized people. So when we got to the place, they told us that you called our NAM, that is a parliamentarian, and we are like, yes. They said, you people will sit and you will not see him. So I was like, seriously? And it happened that way. He called later and said that, my car, I'm at the mechanic. So the people already, you know, they knew him. Before elections, I bet he was there with every beautiful, you know, saying. So I believe that the step that we also took was going around during, before the parliamentarian election to actually sensitize people on who a parliamentarian is, what is the role, because often at times in Gambia we get the wrong idea of who a member of parliament is. They believe that once a member of parliament is there, they're the ones that's going to build the school for you, you know, build that hospital for you, but that is not the work of a parliamentarian. So it is very important that other stakeholders, you know, try very hard when elections are coming to actually reach out to as many citizens as they can.
Would this be... I want to add even to what Anita is saying, because that is part of one of the challenges we had in regards to your experience with that politician. When we organized our National Assembly debates this year, we in fact had a candidate who said, yes, he will be there. He was saying yes to the program until 30 minutes of the program. We never saw him, right? Only to give us an excuse later on. We had another one somewhere else who also told us, I'm on my way, I'm coming. And then if he came, it's like all of us who went back to time and waited for them there to come back. But one thing I want to say is, I think we still need attitudinal change at some level. At the grassroots, when we are kids, we have been taught a lot of things by our folks, you know, be this, be that. But then, when we are matured enough now that we can think for ourselves, I think we tend to forget all of those things we are taught. And that is one of the challenges we face at the CPD in organizing National Assembly debates this year.
They will give you A and then B happens.
But the best part of, like, some of the good things we've seen is people are mimicking political debates. I'm not using the word mimic to say it's a bad thing. No, our idea is to promote the culture of debate in the Gambia.
Yeah.
We saw another media house was conducted it this year, and then we are not saying it's bad or whatsoever that they do not. But for media houses, we would have really preferred that they work with us because we've engaged all of them work with us. But as long as it's also promoting the culture of debates, having people come to us and say, well, we want to organize this debate for these people, then that sends a huge signal that it's working. The idea we started in 2016 is working, and hopefully we will get there.
Certainly. My question was going to touch a little bit about what he's, a little more about what he said, but then I would have framed a kind of a suggestion to this. Do you think then, if this is what it is, that your NAM is not responding to your calls, you already can predict what your NAM would do? This is from the people of a certain region you mentioned.
Yes.
Don't you think this is giving you another opportunity to craft a project that would inform electorates that there is a constitutional right that you can recall your representatives to put them into a table to understand this is what it is? And if also with regard to like the people coming to represent would come with a camouflage color, would come with stuff that wouldn't represent them in the future, where there is what you call a certificate of character. You could have engaged IEC in a way that most of these candidates that are coming in with their registrations must have presented their manifestos and the like. You create a profile for these people, a kind of like, let me mention a Facebook, where a particular candidate's image will be displayed, their manifestos are put in there, already inform their people that this is the manifesto this person have discussed, but you have right to recall them if this is not played. So then the Gambians will move. Because I think I would give a credit, if I didn't need to share my opinions here, but I think I would give credit to most Gambians that the presidential elections, people voted in a high number, which goes for like 52% for the incumbent. Imagine presidential elections, and in a place like, let's take Banjul as an example, where the president didn't win any seat. This must have been a motion that would say the people are well informed, or people are getting well informed about importance of voting and the reason to vote, because it's not like he is the president, Yala Moko Fatek, so Dinako vote. So this is not how it went. These two suggestions, what do you think? Is it doable, being a program manager of Gambia Participate?
Definitely it's doable. I mean, even with the suggestion of Facebook, we have the marble. It's easy, right? If you look at the marble right now, there is a part where we can create a portfolio for each NAM, right? Your manifesto and everything that you have said, even your plans as to,
This will come into play if you have a MOU agreement with IEC, then
two of the candidates won. If you need that also, you can work with us. We can have those videos of what they said on, because our debates were focused on 6 thematic areas. It was budget, oversight, function of the National Assembly. You have social issues, political issues. These are all issues that if you're really interested, we can work with you, give you those footages, and then you can have them all posted on the marble. What they think.
That would be great, and I mean it's doable, like you said.
Certainly, you could, your projects could tie a knot here. We'd call it a happy marriage to the project, to see saving the people from having people that were to represent them instead representing themselves.
Yes.
I have never witnessed a time where a National Assembly member goes back to their people to question them about this is what's happening regard to the draft constitution and so many things. It is really disappointing, but I hope this would give a stage to your project, informing the people the importance of recalling their representatives. The National Assembly, Mariama.
Well, I think it's a two-sided situation. First, you have those that are voting, and then you have those that they are voting for. So the issue of who is supposed to do what becomes a question that I think, based on our research, we were able to understand that most of the electorates don't really understand who a parliamentarian is. And I think even some of the candidates themselves still don't have an understanding of what their exact responsibilities are.
Because I was
because
wowed.
if you listen to some of them tell you the plans they have or the issues during the campaign, some of the messaging, it tells a lot about how much work that needs to be done. So I think the issue of capacity building, really, we need to invest in that to ensure that we really look into that aspect. You talked about the issue of recalling NAMs. These things are possible when the law actually guarantees it and provides for it. We've seen that in the current constitution that we're using, these things are not very much extensively elaborated, so it might really be an issue. But in the draft constitution, something of that sort was included because we were trying to ensure that we promote what we call accountability. And then when you look at our findings, because we also asked the people, what do you think is the most important thing for you in terms of the things that this current parliamentarians should focus on? You look at the issue of anti-corruption, 78% of our respondents are saying they want this current National Assembly to work on the anti-corruption bill. Now, that would be very much important. Just yesterday, the National Audit Office actually put up a report which looks at how the COVID funds were actually mismanaged or squandered. So you could tell that if CEPRAS is telling you from our findings, the people are saying they want anti-corruption bill to be enacted by the Parliament. It means the National Audit Office, through the National Assembly, could call on those individuals that were responsible for those funds to come out and answer to the questions of the public as far as, because we're talking about millions of dollars that were unaccounted for. Where has it gone to? Who has taken it? But then because we don't have these setups in place, it is a problem for us to really hold on to the issue of accountability as much as we might want it. And then the issue of constitutional amendment. We've seen that millions of dollars were spent on the draft constitution, to which most people feel it is dead, others are saying it is in a state of coma. Some are still optimistic that we could actually bring it back to life. Others are saying if that is not possible, let us see how we amend what is available to fit our needs and our wishes as a people. And then we are having that at 64%. To say that 64% of our respondents is a very significant number that are saying they want to see that the constitution is amended to fit purpose. So these are two major issues that people have highlighted, and we are very much optimistic that this current National Assembly would look into these two issues because they are very, very significant issues, which is the issue of anti-corruption and then that of the constitutional mandate. We also asked the people, what do you think is the responsibility of the National Assembly member? And then we had interesting responses from people.
Our bill roads.
Right. And then the issue of projects actually outnumber in the response. Most people believe National Assembly members are supposed to bring in projects. But you don't blame them because that is a message that was sold to them, and that is what they have bought from these candidates. So I think the CSO, exactly, it's like a market. When you go to the market, you want a cabbage, that is what you go in for. So you don't tell the person, give me a cabbage, and then the person gives you a carrot and you walk away. It's the same in our electoral system as well. The message that has been given is what they vote on. So it's about the person that is crafting the message to understand that if we have an empowered citizenry, if we inform them properly in terms of what to know, and I think the CSO has been really doing great in terms of that. But we really also need to come together to also to put up our effort to see that we do more in informing the people. We had an 89% voter turnout in 2021, December 4th elections. You cannot give all that credit to just IEC. The CSO played a very strategic, robust role in that. That is the same energy we should translate into local government election to ensure that at least majority of the people come out to vote. But they understand that this individual I'm voting for might lobby for a road, but it's not his constitutional mandate. But his constitutional mandate is to represent, oversight, and also serve as an inspiration in terms of budgeting. These are issues that they really need to look into. And then when you look at the issue of select committees as well, the National Assembly has those functions. They are divided into select committees. And then the sad thing about our country is those individuals that are divided into select committees, do they really understand the committees that they are in? Because the problem with us is, we have politicians, but then what kind of career do they have, for example? Like, for example, if I'm a businessman and then I go into the parliament, the chances of me doing well in finance committee is high. Because then I am trained and processed through that. But then they will never go there.
They will go to health or human rights.
So you see that we still have a problem in terms of our committees and how they are constituted. So I'm really optimistic as she said that this parliament, this current National Assembly would be very much different from the previous ones, and they would also really need to look into the issue of legislations as much as possible to ensure that most of the outstanding legal issues that we were talking about would be really prioritized this time, especially the anti-corruption bill and that of the constitutional amendment.
Yes.
Well, certainly, there's a very beautiful overview of it. I think most electorals will be like, I think this would have come earlier before I did vote. But sadly, one of the most respected house in our country, which is the parliament, one of the most, I would say, one of the most important house, one of the house that we should all dare to feel like worshiping it. In some other countries, it would be like, this is the area that we really need to pay attention on. But sadly, the Gambia, it turned out to be a house for compensation, not house for representation, not house to represent the actual thing we're looking for. Most political parties will select candidates just to compensate them. This guy have been in this party for this or all this while. We will take wrong people to represent us. This will attract me to quote from Lumumba, which will not be an accurate statement of his, but then it goes like this. We elect people that do not know nothing about and leave people that know something about this particular area. I think it is high time we do away with this. I would rather say the political debate did punish some candidates that failed to respond to your calls to send their manifestos, because majority of the people that didn't come to the debate failed. Was this their sin, or do you think it's because they don't respect the people to share their manifestos? This is the reason they faced a backlash that they wouldn't represent their constitution.
Well, let me just echo something that you said here. You said National Assembly is one of the most, I want to say, to me, National Assembly is in fact the most important institution in the country.
Certainly, I would write one of the most, and I am choosing the most. Certainly, I believe in you.
Because the only thing is, the National Assembly is actually the oversight body that oversees the executive, whether they're executing their job or not. They make the laws that the court people, right? They are drafting the most important document in the clan, and the second most important document, that is the constitution and then the budget. Those two are the most important documents in the entire country, right? So this house is actually one of the most important houses in the country, the most important institution in the country that we have to make sure that, you know, we select the right people to represent us. And it's beyond, if we do get, in fact, anybody else to be there in the house, let's make sure that the select committees, we put people who are competent enough, because those are the people who do the real job at the National Assembly, right? To echo what Mariam is saying. To answer to your question, luckily for this time around, like I said, we did our debate in 3 constituencies because we do not have resources to do 3 constituencies. 1, because we don't have the resources. 2, the time frame for campaign is very, very short, right? We cannot have it all 3 constituencies even if we want it. But 2 of the constituencies where we did the debate, the candidates who won, they all participated in our debates. So online alone, we've had over 30,000 people who have tuned into our program to watch all the 3 debates. And then that is different from those who were watching from their homes or those who listen to it on the radio on Capital FM. When it comes to the debate in the Fonyi Bondali. One thing I can say is we don't have the real data to suggest that probably they lost because of they did not participate in our debates. But we can say that we've done our best to engage everybody else, because what we did was in this debate, especially National Assembly debate, where we know we are bringing the constituencies, like the candidates to the constituency itself. You know, we did the Serekunda debate in Serekunda West. We did the Fonyi Bondali debate in Fonyi Bondali, and we invited Alcalos, electors themselves to attend. And then we asked the candidates to speak in local languages. We asked the question in English, and then they're free to answer in the local languages that they feel people understand the most. For example, in Fonyi, when you speak Fula or Jola, everybody else will understand, because the whole region, they all speak either Fula or, mostly is Fula and Jola, right?
Totally.
And then we also involved, we paid Capital FM to cover it on radio, so that the people who do not have access to TV or Nawek messing up, you can equally listen on radio. So one thing I can say is we've done our level best to get people accurate information, and we are yet to have any real data. as per way that really influenced their decision, but we hope it did, because we can tell that a lot of people really paid attention to the debates.
So in your capacity, are you telling me not participating in this debate can still give you a chance to win?
No, in the future, in the next 5-10 years,
yeah.
I can bet. I might be wrong. I'll take it first and back me later on. That in the few upcoming years, in the next few elections to come, elections will determine hugely on what debates will determine hugely on how you participate on the election, because Sepras is telling you people are now interested in what bills. You know, people are interested in road projects. Those are things you only hear when there is debate. Then you can weigh who is bringing you the best projects, who is doing this, and that is
who will just give you a camouflage impression.
Exactly. So it's changing rapidly. And then it's going to change within the next 10 years. I'm certain about that.
Yeah, quickly, just to add on to one thing that he said, and I think it's very important. I like it when people incorporate good practices from other institutions or other countries. Like take for instance our neighbor Senegal. When you look into their parliament, they give people the leverage to speak the language they are comfortable in. I think that also to some extent undermines some people's competence, because in this country we highly attribute competence to language proficiency.
Certainly.
For instance, I can speak fluently. I can flow when it comes to how I want to maybe speak or express myself. But when it comes to commitment, the sense of patriotism, and also the brain to analyze some of these issues, some of the people we look down on may even do better. But maybe language proficiency might be an issue. But then we also need to understand that most of the legislations, most of the processes are in English language. So language proficiency is important in relation to their paperwork. But I think the reason why some of them would go to Parliament and wouldn't say much, in my view, this has nothing to do with Sepras's view. I think it's also with the fact that language is an issue. So if we sort of give them an advantage, if you're very much comfortable in Mandinka, express yourself in Mandinka. Let there be interpreters to talk to the Jola man or to talk to the Fula man for them to understand exactly what you're saying in English or what you're saying in another language. This, I think, could be a good practice that we can incorporate in the National Assembly, and also I'm not in any way trying to undermine language as well, because it's important. As a parliamentarian, you should be able to, at least the bare minimum, be able to read, write, and understand written documents and be able to analyze it, because that is part of your work. But when it comes to their engagements during debates, to also encourage participation, I think it's high time we start looking into how we encourage them to speak the language that they will be comfortable in.
Yeah, that's a very beautiful part where I was also, for so many times, I will be like, why are you not using our national languages? But then I think it looks a little bit too late for the Gambia to adopt national languages, from my opinion. I don't have the right to share my opinions. Excuse me, it will be unethical. I have to get your views, Oliver. Why I just want to shed a little bit light on this is, if you go to Senegal, Wolof is a common language. Almost every individual speaks Wolof. Speaking Wolof wouldn't see that you are trying to discriminate another language. It's like the Wolof language is not compromised. It's a language that is accepted. If you go to Guinea-Bissau, that's Creole. So other Arab, like the Arab world, Arabic. To the English world, English. To the French, is French. But in the Gambia here, we've seen so many times. I have been to places where I was part of people to negotiate on people to understand that our diversity must not cause us apart. But in the Gambia here, we, instead of boasting with the great things that we've been doing for our nations, most of us will be boasting with the tribe we belong to. If we want to adopt national languages in the National Assembly, which language are we going to pick?
No,
there came a time.
We don't have to pick one.
There will come a time, from my view, there will come a time, I stand to be corrected. From my view, there will come a time where Alpha will be expressing himself in Polari. Because of that, in Gambia here, we are so much that we like to boast with our tribe. I would never even mind to listen to him, or whatever it is. The next thing I would do is like Mandag Mapot. It happened several times that he will speak, a Mandinka will speak to a Wolof will be like even so empty.
I understand what you're saying, but then the reason I bring that up is like, you know, when it comes to seeing something good somewhere and trying to bring it down, like when you look at the debate, it must have been influenced by something they've seen somewhere and bring it. The marble, for instance, the opinion poll, for example, we must have seen from somewhere and it worked. So just because, I think it's important we start testing stuff before we just pass judgment on it.
Okay, that's very
Another issue is like the issue of helping them get research assistance as part of another recommendation I'll put forward. I think National Assembly members need to have support staff to help them. What I mean by this is every constituency, the National Assembly members should have support staff. In this, there should be a research assistant who is exclusively responsible for research issues. For example, if they are to talk about budgeting, for example, or a bill on health, these individuals will go make research on the current status quo of the country, put up a report, and then bring it back to Mahoney as the NAM for Serekunda, for instance. This would help her not to just talk out of her own discretion, but then she's going to actually reference it based on facts and data that is available. So I think that is very important. The reason why I talked on the issue of language, this is me thinking it is the reason why some people were in parliament for 5 solid years and never said anything aside from I.
Right.
Just I. Yeah. We need to change that system. And I think if language is the problem, why not we look into it and see how best we help them build their capacity to ensure that when she speaks the Manjago, I wouldn't feel offended about it because already an interpreter is telling me what she's saying in Manjago.
Danso, just quickly add, because I know we are running out of time. I think one thing also, because everybody is doing one language, it doesn't mean we cannot do more than one.
Exactly.
In the Gambia, I stand to be corrected. There are 3 languages you speak anywhere, and everybody will understand. Mandinka, Pular, and Wolof. These languages people understand across the country. I stand to be corrected. Certainly. But I can tell you that they are understood across the country. 3 is not much if we invest enough.
Exactly.
Right? And let's also make sure that we have the sign language interpreters throughout all sessions. We don't see them often. I know there are certain media houses that are trying to inculcate them in their news when they're doing the news. But we must get them there. But language, I think to me, we can test the waters.
Exactly.
3 can do.
Okay, right. That's beautiful. I hope IEC, the government, the parliament, excuse me, this is not the IEC's area, the parliamentarians would look into this. It is onto your own benefit if you accept to go in there, because remember, some candidates were demoralized because of language competency. So the ball is in your court. Put something that will benefit you and not to accept things that will kick you back. Think about the language, and I hope this would help you. Been alert by the conclusion part of it, I wouldn't have much to say with this, because I think we've been talking of almost like 1 hour or so. The last thing I would like to put you in is like, there's something coming very important. We wouldn't have to ignore it, though it is at far, but we have to put attention to it. The local government election is coming, the council and the mayor. What is your expectation to this? What message do you have for people? Probably this will be the last questions to you.
Yeah, great. Just to tell them that every position that people, have to stand and contest for is important. Presidential is important, but you give it out with the number that came for the presidential compared to the one that came during the parliamentary. It could have been better, because you look at it, even though people came out as what people were expecting, it was not the number that we all wish to see. And I somehow I'll blame IEC, and because as per our recommendation, we have told IEC to try and make elections simultaneously. Sure. It's cost effective. I mean, you can have the presidential, and I bet if the government knew this would be the outcome of the results, they would have found a way of having both the presidential and parliamentary elections at the same time. I mean, it's not rocket science. We can do it, because look at what happened. You gave them that space of a time, and it's parliamentary elections, and you do it during an event of Ramadan and fasting. This I'm not saying that completely, but I believe that it would play. It had a role to play in the number that came out. Sure. So just something that I would want to tell Gambians is never undermine other elections. I mean, just like the parliamentary, the local government elections is way important. I mean, do you think that the parliamentarians are closer to you, the local government are more closer to you with the councillors, and because these are the people that you actually walk by, pass. Some would even call them the Gaindenja couples. So parliamentarians can actually leave a constituency and they will not see their parliamentarians for more than 5 months to a year. But at least with the with your local or your councillor, you could just pass by and you could always convey your issues and your problems. And it's very important that we know that it's not all about presidential elections. Both parliamentary elections and local government elections are very significant and important. So let us go out and vote. And when we vote, let us vote for competence and not based on tribes or the people that you know.
You had a take on here earlier that you set a marriage with your project. Your project set marriage on this.
Yes.
This is a take on for you. You've already given a warning to IEC with regard to having elections in Ramadan, which could have been avoided here.
Yes.
What specific message do you want to send to the IEC for the local government election that is coming?
Yeah, with the local government election.
See this, you do this in 1 minute?
Yes, with the local government election, I believe that you have people who are up to age right now. They are above 8, or they are 18 and above. When we had the registration, they were in. These people are eligible to vote. They should be given the opportunity. I mean, we placed it out for them to do it during the parliamentary, but they did not. These are people that are electorates now, so because they don't have a voter's card, they can't vote, they don't have a say.
Sure.
So IEC have a way of looking into this, and please let them at least enhance their communication. When IEC communicate with people, people don't even get to understand what is happening. You go to their website, it's not user-friendly. So they can try to at least have a way of updating everything that has to do with communicating with the electorates. Let them try enhancing it in the
Thank
future.
you so much for having you on the Golden View Revolutions.
Right.
Mariama.
We also looked at the relationship between local government and also central government in terms of supporting and also subventing them. And then we also had the Minister of Information reacted to that on an interview that was conducted together with him and our boss, the executive director. So I think the local government election is coming. The CSO has a responsibility to still come back to the drawing board again. Read and assess to see how far have we gone, what have we achieved, where are our lapses, and we also see how best we improve on it. And I think the team that was responsible for election observation, that is Gambia Participates, together with the other electoral bodies that were observing, had recommendations put together. I think it's high time Gambia start valuing written data. Like, paperwork is important. Go back to read. These are things that we could always refer to back, and it could help us advance our lives. So basically, that is all I'm going to say. And also, we might be really looking into issues of local government, and we will be coming back again. So people should really expect separatists to be doing more of not just political opinion polls, but on social issues as well. So it was a pleasure being here.
Certainly, I hope we will be doing more of this talk to inform the people that when they are trying to give you a forecasting, it's not like they are malaikas or they are jinns, whatever, it is angels and the like. To you, the political debate is something that is attracting much of the people's attention. This is something that could give overview of people or giving us a profile of the candidates that are coming in, what they stand for and the like. What suggestions would I think it would be very, very key to see you having signed an MOU with IEC, making it mandatory for every candidate to come in. What other things that you think IEC could do with your project?
So far with the IPC, they actually buy into the idea, and I think they suggested it to us. We will try and work with the IEC to see if we can have political debates in the campaign calendar. If we have that on the campaign calendar, that this day is selected only for debates, nobody will campaign, I think we will see more people participate in the debates. So we're really looking forward towards that. And I think I agree with Mariama. There's a CSO of coalition of CSOs on election. It's over 30 CSOs that are part of it. I think it's better we meet and then discuss our findings. So far.
In your capacity being, if you're the IEC chairman at this point, upon every time, what is the thing that you're going to rectify for the local government election coming?
Alaji Mamadou Mukhtar Jallow. But yeah, on a serious note, one thing I want to echo is the issue of maybe giving chances for other people, because that's next year. Already there are others who went for studies, people like me who are back in the country who do not have voters card and we would love to vote. Right? So maybe giving us that chance will go a long way. But secondly, they also, while we cannot digitalize everything on the IEC, there are certain things we can digitalize to save time, like the roster that they all go with. That can be on a tablet. All of the people who are there can just have a tablet. If this person is there, you take it, it's in the system that this person has voted. So all they have to do is just to confirm that this person has, that can be done within seconds, and then it's done. So those things could go a long way in fast-tracking the election. So you just have to go inside and vote.
Okay, that's so beautiful having you all on the show. That's all for you, beautiful viewers. I think I did like to apologize for keeping you beyond the time expected to have you discuss on this project, the topic that we've had here. But because of the importance of the elections and because of information that were like a kind of a myth to people, I believe today, or at this point in time, everyone must have learned the differences between what is a myth here and what is a fact, what needs to be considered and what not to be considered, like what is significant and the like. I hope to see you again in our next episodes, having them again to discuss on great projects that you have in play. I'd like to congratulate you for having those beautiful projects you've been doing. It is amazing knowing that Who Rules the World slogan, girls, is really in play. Having two ladies here representing the gender line here. I keep like talking about the gender line. This is so beautiful that seeing them all age below 35. The Gambia is indeed lucky. With that, the Gambia is lucky. See you next week.
Thank you.